In the words of Benny Fazio, what if? Today's what ifs focus on things that happened in the beginning, middle, and end of the series. So, let's get right into it. What if AJ had never told Livia that Tony was seeing a psychiatrist? We see that AJ lets the cat out of the bag about Tony seeing a psychiatrist. Then Livia tells Junior, Junior tells Mikey, and after a few frustrating rounds of golf, Junior's about ready to get rid of Tony, or at least try to anyway. Would it have gotten to that level if they never knew Tony was seeing a psychiatrist? Mikey P's guy was tailing Tony and figured he was talking to the feds. I mean, where else could he be going if not to his Gumar's house? So, for all we know, they could have ended up trying to whack Tony over thinking he was a rat.
This government's case, if there's a leak, it's in Tony's boat.
Along with all the other resentment that led Livia and Junior to want to actually go through with this.
My nephew is seeing a psychiatrist. Makes me want to cry.
I suppose he would have found it harder to have his meetings at my house than in his nursing home.
What are you talking about, meetings?
Raymond, Larry, that sneak from Manhattan
Johnny Sack? Johnny Sack was here?
with his mohair suits and his shoe lifts.
Suits? Pleurisy? More than once he was here? Why didn't I know about this?
Well, maybe it was you they were talking about, who knows? No, I just don't like being put in the middle of things.
Anthony wants to play games, okay. I taught him games. I taught him how to play baseball.
You talking about clipping him?
Nobody would slap my wrist if I did.
What if Junior didn't dump Roberta, aka Bobbie, back in season 1?
I don't understand. Well, let's just say your uncle has acquired a taste for her.
Get your pencils and your crap and the rest of your shit. And don't be here tomorrow. It's a goddamn point. Goddamn house arrest. My life is only death. I'm living in a grave. I beat prison, and for what?
Cunnilingus and psychiatry brought us to this. So on one hand, Carmela should have kept her mouth shut. But on the other hand, what if Junior hadn't made such a big deal about it to begin with? We see that after his arrest at the end of season 1, it's a long road to house arrest, cancer, a trial, more house arrest, another pending trial, and what?
It's so fucking blue.
Well, what do you expect? All you do is go to funerals all the time.
I'm trapped.
Perhaps if he'd had companionship throughout that time, things wouldn't have taken the turn that they did. Granted, that's not to say that he wouldn't have developed dementia or other associated issues, but if he'd had someone like Bobbie, Roberta Bobbie, perhaps he wouldn't have deteriorated as quickly, and maybe he wouldn't have shot Tony, for example. Bobbie would have been there to watch him that night. What if Johnny Sack hadn't turned around?
Careful driving.
If Johnny Sack hadn't turned around and gone back and found Ginny with the candy, he may not have decided to call it off, to change his mind about forgiving Ralph. So he wouldn't have called Joey Peeps to call their guy to tell him to stop and not go through with it.
Hello. Listen, it's me. I just talked to my guy again. We're calling it off.
I'm already out here, though. Like, right there.
We'll work something out then. Don't worry about it.
Which would have then led to a dead Ralph. And possibly a dead Johnny Sack.
John Sacramone. He'll be coming up through here next few days. He stays at the Boston Harbor Hotel. The guy on the left. I don't know that we need to be that overstated.
For what it's worth, it always seems odd to me that they gave them a picture of Johnny Sack and Tony. I know they said it's the guy on the left, but why even risk the confusion? Just give them a picture of Johnny Sack. What if Adriana and Tony had kissed and hooked up?
Okay, go. Everybody, enjoy the evening. Unhappy customer.
Would Christopher have inevitably found out and this scenario happen sooner rather than later? Or would it be something that they'd keep secret? I mean, talk about lots of secrets, as if they don't already have enough on their hands. Saved by the Phil?
It'd be a disaster of major proportions. Carmela, I'd get hosed financially. There'd be no reason with her after that. And my nephew, it would kill him.
Well, you'll kill your nephew eventually anyway.
That'd be very bad for the girl. She doesn't deserve that.
Oh, but that girl will get much worse a little later on in the season.
Whatever.
What if Tony B didn't feel so offended and upset because of Carmela and Tony that night of Hugh's 75th birthday party? I think that Tony Soprano, messing around with Meadow here and reminiscing about when she was a little girl, hurt Tony B, because it reminded him of what he was missing in his own life, his daughter, who was around Meadow's age and who he'd been looking for quite some time. That, coupled with Carmela ordering him around, I think contributed to his saying, "Fuck it, I'll take the Joey Peeps job." And we see what went on from there. A lot of bloodshed. You were right, Angelo.
I love where he lives. I don't want to come back here.
What if Tony Soprano hadn't decided to kill Tony B? If Tony Soprano hadn't gone up to Uncle Pat's farm and shot Tony B before the others got to him, if Phil had indeed gotten to him, he would have probably tortured him before killing him. But what if Tony Soprano didn't kill him, and then Phil and the others didn't find out where Tony B was? How long would Tony B be able to just kind of hang out at Uncle Pat's? Would he end up going somewhere else, kind of floating around, never staying in one place for too long? And how would that have impacted the show moving forward? We know that Phil still remained angry about his brother Billy. He doesn't forget, remember? But I can see there being a lot more tension if they thought that Tony B was still alive out there. What if Christopher and Tony hadn't gotten into a car accident that night? If Tony and Christopher hadn't gotten into an accident that night, would it have just been a matter of time until, say, another accident, another slip-up, when Tony decides once and for all that he just doesn't want that liability around anymore? Or, as some theorize, was Christopher a rat, and that was the reason for the hat and some other things? Would Christopher have been able to give them more information on Tony?
You have any idea, if I wanted, what I could do to these pricks? One phone call and it's over. The whole fucking castle comes down like Humpty Dumpty.
Hard to say, of course, but when it comes to backs, and when it comes to the Sopranos, nobody knows anything, really. What if Coco hadn't messed around with Meadow that night in The Second Coming? So if we think about the cascading series of events that happened after Coco approached Meadow and messed around with her.
And the guy says that
Excuse me. You're Tony Soprano's kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little cream on your mouth there, sweetie. Be happy to add to it.
Meadow then tells Tony. Tony then goes, beats Coco to within an inch of his life, Phil's extremely angry, refuses to forgive Tony and let it go. So then, they finally all decide to go to the mattresses, and we see what happens from there.
Jeez. Geiger's off, all right? Forget
Butch, how are you?
Phil is not accepting visitors right now.
I just talked to him on the phone, Butchie.
Well, I just talked to him in person.
Obviously, truth is, a fuck like Phil, appeasement don't work.
He pops. Within a tight time frame, 24 hours, so there's no chance for them to hit back.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for plenty more what ifs and other Sopranos videos.